Hello everyone, welcome to Katharine's Creatures. This is a series where we're going to touch base upon and talk a little bit about various mythological creatures, beast beings, and the like pulled from lore worldwide, and this is episode 113. And I always like to preface by saying that I am not a linguist, so if I mispronounce anything, I apologize in advance. I do try my best. And today I kind of wanted to talk about the concept of the shade. And the shade is actually a word used to describe either spirits and or ghosts of a dead person who currently resides in an underworld. And the word shade comes from an ancient Greek word, and that's the kind of English translation of that word. But the concept that underworlds where places of shadow and stillness and almost gloom is a very common Near East belief. And kind of case in point, in the biblical Hebrew, there's a word that is Salamveth that translates loosely to death shadow or the shadow of death, and referring to the underworld. An alternative name for it is Sheol, and again, in this belief, this particular underworld is full of stillness and darkness, and again, that kind of gloomy vibe. So shades, kind of shadow, do kind of go hand in hand with each other. Now, in that belief system, there is also other options, but the better option, only a few select individuals get to go to and be exempt, but essentially the heroes can go elsewhere to a nicer alternative. But the common person ends up in a world or reality, an afterlife of gloom and shadow. And so that's why the word shade kind of pulls from that concept of shadows. Now, fun little fact, based on Plutarch's writings, he said that Alexander the Great from history was almost inconsolable after the death of a friend, Hephaestion, and he just was mourning the loss of his friend until an oracle of Anon came up and said, hey, your friend actually is not in the gloomy version. He's rose to heroic standards and is in a better place. And so that was only up until that point. Alexander was again beside himself, but hearing that, he was able to get over and kind of help cope with the loss of his friend. Now, the word shades, again, the Greek translation of that word shade, was used in Book 11 of Homer's Odyssey, in reference during the time when Odysseus travels into the underworld, Hades, at that point. And you also hear those words being used in Rome's work by Virgil, the Aeneid, and again, the same point where Aeneas, the hero, goes down to the underworld and actually communicates with various shades along his journey. Now, a little time jump later, one of the other famous works of literature that reference to heavens and hells and afterlife and purgatory is the Divine Comedy by Dante, that many people do recognize, at least the Inferno part, maybe not all three books, but the Divine Comedy is all of them together. And in that work, obviously, Dante refers many times to the dead as being shades. So that's pretty much what I was going to kind of cover, was the fact that shade is a term that is utilized and pops up a lot of times, originally specifically referencing a ghost or spirit in the underworld. Now fantasy shades pop up a lot of times as a kind of ghost-like subcategory that are able to walk on the land and kind of have evolved to be a little bit more spooky and haunting for some more modern works. If you have any questions for me about this or anything else, please post them in the comments below or reach out to me on any of my social media. And until next time, Skål.